Welcome to Ponchatoula Live, the show where we make it easy for you to connect with the people of Ponchatoula. Excuse me. I'm so excited I can barely speak right now because I'm bringing back one of my favorite guests we've ever had, Coach Jeremy Harper, and he's returning in triumph as the District Coach of the Year. And as you all know, the coach of the state runner-up, first time ever PHS has made the state finals, Lady Wave softball team. Coach Harper, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Parker. We appreciate it. Any chance I can say roll wave on Ponchatoula.com is a good day for me.
Well, I know you're super busy. You're wrapping up this historic run that I'm going to ask you all about, but you don't take a break. I noticed that you have tryouts coming up here on May 17th. My wife works at Ponchatoula Junior High, and they had that posted today. So you don't sleep much. It seems like you're working year round with the softball program. Is that right?
We try very hard to keep our girls engaged year round. We want our girls to play other sports. We love our volleyball program. We love our girls basketball, our track, our soccer programs. But when those girls choose to do just softball, we want to make sure that we keep them engaged as much as possible. So yeah, the 17th we have tryouts, and then immediately we start looking at a summer ball metro league that we put our girls in, and then in the fall we have fall ball. We have all the things that come with being a softball program, especially
Yeah.
at this level and at this size of a program. You have to really make sure that your girls are always involved in something, if not softball.
Yeah. Well, and the success is kind of showing that focus pays off. I know that in years past, you've juggled a variety of sports. Those that know, you played baseball all the way through the college level at Southeastern. You coached baseball, you coached football. You used to coach those, multiple sports in the same year. But now that you're able to focus in on softball year round, 365, it seems to be paying off. And, because this was our deepest and most historic run, and that big trophy behind you is proof of it. But, you had the most successful season in Ponchatoula history, last year before that, right? So do you attribute that in part to the focus you're able to give things full time?
You can attribute that to a lot of things. There is a history of softball at Ponchatoula High School. Um, I spent the day kind of researching and going back and trying to see what kind of successes we've had, and so we build on a good foundation. We I like to say that we shored that foundation up when we got here in 2020. But the success of Ponchatoula doesn't just start in 2020 when I got here. It goes back to Trey Willie, building on what Holly Thompson brought, building on what Dina Atkins brought. But this senior class is the first class that me and my assistant Katie Fletcher, we had the opportunity to actually pick and stay with all 4 years.
Yeah.
I don't attribute that necessarily to a pat on the back for Katie or I. I attribute that to the fact that those 7 seniors really worked their tails off, Parker, for 4 years.
Oh, I bet. And what pride they must be leaving the program and the school, with the success and accomplishment. And what I love about your program is you don't just focus on wins and losses. There's very much, and I know you as a man. In fact, I might embarrass you to say this, but I noticed this week our mutual friend Jay Barbier giving you some props. And he said you're one of the finest men that he knows. And I thought, wow, coming from such a fine man as Jay Barbier, but the people he knows through a lifetime of growing up in Ponchatoula and the churches he's visited and it's just wow, for him to say you're one of the top guys he's ever met speaks to your character. But, there's a little bit of Ted Lasso going on over there in that it's about much more than winning. So if you would, Coach, for those that maybe didn't see your first interview, tell us, if you would, a little bit about your philosophy. I mean, when you come into coaching, what angle are you approaching that profession, that calling?
The philosophy here really is simple. We call it firm. We want to make sure that our girls can be fundamentally sound in softball, because if they can't catch and throw, then I'm not doing my job as a softball coach. We also want our girls to play with an intensity when they play the game. And so we teach them how to do that by not only competing against other teams, but competing against each other. Every December, we do something called the Sulphur Challenge. The goal is to get to Sulphur. And so what we do is we put them in 4 teams, and we have those girls compete against each other. And we were literally talking today about that in the coach's office. about how sometimes it becomes a little too competitive. We got to do
Right.
a job of team building when we come out of that. And then
Yeah.
R is respect, respect for the game,
Mhm.
respect for each other, respect for yourself. And then finally, it's that word that I keep talking about, mudita. You can ask our girls; they know what mudita means. It means selfless joy in the success of others. And all of that to be said, we want our girls to have a firm foundation when they leave us. So you can call it Impact Fridays, where we teach them how to do something other than softball. You can call it bringing them an ice cream truck up here during playoffs to let them have some ice cream. We are trying to make sure these girls, one, never want for anything on the softball field, and so we work our tails off. We fundraise as much as possible, but more importantly than that, we are trying to do better every year. We had our seniors come in today. We have what are called entrance interviews and exit interviews, and the entrance interview kind of tells them what we think the season's going to be like for them specifically, what their role is going to be, and then at the end we start what are called exit interviews. I know that I don't know everything. I know that I'm not perfect. And I know that I need to learn, even at year 25 in coaching, how I can be a better coach for these girls. And so these seniors come in. We've met with all 7 today, and they literally get to sit down and tell me what they think. And if they won't tell me in that way, we also give them another online exit interview where they can and it's anonymous. I can't see that they submitted it. I can just see the numbers that submitted it. They have an opportunity to tell me the truth because if you're sitting in here with your coach, he's not your coach anymore, but you might not tell him the
Right.
truth.
Yeah.
I want these girls to tell me the truth, even if it
Yeah.
hurts me. I want to know how I
Yeah.
can be better, and
Well,
there are a lot of ways I can be better.
I applaud you for that because I can tell you, as someone who teaches at LSU, the students there are able to grade us and rank us and comment to us anonymously. And it's terrifying the first time as a teacher you get that, because you're right. All the restraints are gone. It's anonymous. They can say anything they want. And it sure is rewarding when it's positive, but it's helpful when it's not, because,
Right.
we all have bad habits. As you mentioned earlier, nobody knows everything. Nobody is perfect. And that's how you get sharp and improve yourself. And
And and you
go ahead,
and
Jeremy.
you do that too, in my opinion. You do that by surrounding yourself with good people. My assistant coaches are top notch for me. Wesley and Katie are a married couple who bring so much difference to our staff. All 3 of us, the main coaches on our staff, all are so different that it just works. We all are pushing towards the common goal, and that common goal is to be able to have a trophy, come home with hardware. And we did that. And not only just the coaching staff that I have that props me up in Katie and Wesley, but surrounding yourself with coaches in your life. I've got a group that we call the Four Horsemen. It's two baseball coaches and a former baseball coach and this former baseball coach, and I can ask them anything, and they will be brutally honest with me. I got another little group that's just softball coaches. We call it the Small Circle, and I can ask them anything about how I did something, and they'll tell me the truth. And you need that in your life. You need someone as a coach,
Absolutely.
as someone who leads people, especially as someone who leads young women,
Right.
someone who is willing to tell you the truth, even if it might hurt your feelings.
And I think whatever you do in life, that's a helpful exercise and model. I have that in my group. We have groups, so they call a mastermind group, where a bunch of attorneys that do what I do get together periodically and do exactly what you're saying. I've seen people in the business world talk about a virtual board, of directors. Big companies like Apple bring in people that don't work for the company to kind of guide the ship and give independent feedback. Well, you can do that in your own life just by spotting mentors and peers and folks that you respect and want to learn from. And speaking of people of that quality and ilk, you've got some comments coming in here I want to share with you from other amazing coaches and people in our community, starting with Coach Lauren Long. She says, congratulations. She is so proud and happy for you and your amazing team. And boy, if anybody knows kind of what this whirlwind you've been through, it would be her and her colleagues, right? I mean, they've had such great success.
And and,
Coach,
and not only that, they were there cheering at Sulphur. We saw Coach Long, and we saw, I don't want to name everybody because I'm going to leave somebody out, but all through this season, we've seen so many Ponchatoula coaches down our sidelines, whether it be at home or driving 3 hours to support us as a coaching staff. Parker, to see your community come out, to see your coaches come out, to see your athletic directors come out and support you, I can't describe how important that was for my girls to see those people.
That's special. And like you say, it's one thing to see it here at home where they're, working feet away. But man, to drive to Sulphur, that's doing something. You got to cross that bridge, and you don't know how long it's going to take to get there or back. 3 hours is a best case scenario. Sometimes you're waiting at the bridge 3 hours. So, that's real dedication. Another great coach that I grew up with, Coach Kevin Rayford, our assessor. He says that you're a great coach, a great man, and he's glad to call you a very good friend. The things that you do for your team off the field are amazing, and congratulations. Kevin, I want to thank you for tuning in, and you have done so much for our local baseball community and in other sports. And your son Lathan's a heck of a soccer coach, just great family. But that's not all. We've got PHS legendary softball veteran or alumna, the redhead method. We all know that. That's Katie Morris LeBreton, and she says, "Congrats, Coach. Thank you for bringing PHS softball to new heights."
She was part of one of those groups that that got through the by-district round. I literally wrote down their stats today as I was putting stuff in the PHS softball history book.
She was a heck of a player. I told her when she came on the show, once upon a time, Kevin Rayford, who just commented, of course, and her father and Philip Bankson and I'll never forget, we were riding back from, I think, the Auburn game, maybe a Georgia game, one of those faraway LSU road football games. And we left the actual night of the game. Kelly couldn't wait till the next day because he wanted to make Sunday softball or something, maybe warm-ups or whatever with her. But what a great player she was. We've got Coach Mark Verbois here, my old high school buddy. He says, amazing season, amazing staff, amazing players. Proud to say that all of them are part of our Green Wave family. Good to see your teachers there at the school supporting you. And here's another great one. Jennifer Howes, Drake. She says, iron sharpens iron. Jennifer, what a wonderful, that's exactly what I was thinking earlier when he's talking about that four-way playoff. And Jennifer was a great athlete, I think a state champion runner in high school. So she certainly knows what she's talking about.
You probably can't see it in that picture of her with her dad, Mr. Wayne. He was my when I was first started teaching, he was the guy they paired me with. As a young teacher, I got a chance to sit with Wayne Howes and drink coffee and learn how to really be a teacher, not just what they tell you in the books.
Well, he was a Superman, and I love that photo because I can see his crown. He was a great strawberry king.
Yes, he was.
Somebody that people in our community really admired. He was not braggadocious or in your face. He was just a really good man who led by example. And I know Charlie and Jennifer were blessed to have him as a father, and our community was blessed that he was here with us. Speaking of great strawberry kings of Ponchatoula, Lester Leroy Satoon says, great coach, great season. Thank you for being there with us there, Mr. Satoon. And the beautiful Heather Parent. Oh, I'm sorry, Jeremy, I'll go back. What'd you say?
Oh, that's high praise right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Heather Parent, speaking of those great state champion runner days, I think you were part of Jennifer's team that I was just bragging about. She says, congrats, Jeremy, such a deserved honor. Heather, thank you for watching and tuning in, and you're such a wonderful woman. I always tell my good buddy Brandon Parent, he married well. Well, Coach Harper, let's turn back to your season because we've talking kind of generally about how you do things, way you approach this. Last year, y'all had a great squad, a great season. You mentioned this special group of seniors that are coming through here. Coming into this year, do you have any idea what you've got? Because you've been part of special teams, both in softball and baseball and football before. So you kind of have seen teams, do well or just across campus. Lord knows both boys and girls basketball have been on fire here in the recent times at PHS. Tell us what you thought coming into the season and how you approached it.
these seniors, a lot of them had been starters for at least 2 years, and some of them 3 and 4 years. So we knew that we had a special group. Um, did we know we had a group that could bring home some hardware to Ponchatoula? I don't know. We always hope that you end up playing on the last playing date. That's the goal of every program. I don't care if you're here at Ponchatoula or anywhere else. Your goal in whatever sport you coach is to play on the last playing day. And I had a meeting with my seniors. I take them to PJs to begin the year, and I say, "Look, guys, I have goals, but I'm going to be here when you're gone after the season's gone. What are your goals?" And they laid out this plan. We want to win district again. We want to make it to the quarterfinals instead of just the regionals. We want to make it to Sulphur. And as a coach, your job is to support your girls and go, yes, that is a fantastic goal. In the back of my head, I'm thinking, Sulphur. I don't even know what it takes to get to Sulphur because I've never been there.
Yeah.
The baseball team back in '08, I think it was '08, we made it to the quarterfinals, but I don't know what it takes to make it to the semis. And so I literally called my assistant coaches on the way home. And I said, guys, these girls want to go to Sulphur. Like, not just that. Hey, that's a goal we've got. We're going to put a pin in that. We want to go to Sulphur. And both of them said, okay, what does that look like? And so we scheduled to make sure that we could have some challenges early on in the season, and we got those challenges and we played those hard games. And these seniors continue to excel and continue to surprise, and they brought the juniors and the sophomores and the freshmen along with them to do something that had never been done. To say you want to go to Sulphur and to step foot in Frash Park and play in the semis, that's two way different animals.
Well, oh, I'm sorry, Coach. I've got a technical difficulty here on my side. My apologies there. So you set these goals early on. When did you start to see a glimmer of hope that was a possibility? I mean, how many games into the season? Because this is not something. Football season, for example, can be one where you're marching 10 games in a row, and if you're undefeated, you know what you got, for a while, and eventually teams don't stay undefeated. But how did the beginning of the season come out? Did y'all come out the gate strong, or did it take a while to build up to the momentum you had here at the end of the year? What was that like?
First 2 weeks of the season, we came out strong, and then we make sure that we practice everything. Let me rephrase that. We try to make sure we practice every scenario. So we practice how to do the national anthem. We practice what does pregame look like. We practice what it looks like to walk off a team, believe it or not. We practice away games. We practice going on the road on overnight trips. So in our schedule, we scheduled 2 overnight tournaments to where we had to go on the road and play in unfamiliar circumstances. And so we went all the way up to North Louisiana around Ruston, around West Monroe, and played in what's called the Polar Bear Classic. And Parker, we lost all 3 games. We lost to 2.
Who did you play? LSU and Ole Miss and a few other squad. Who in the state did we go 3 times in a row?
We played the Yankees. We played we played Calvary Baptist, who ends up winning the select 2 division, I think 3 state championship. We play Sterlington, that ends up winning the division 2 or 3 state championship, and we played Tioga. So we played 3 teams and we lose all 3. And I'm thinking, goodness gracious, what have we done? So we get back on the bus. But at the same time, we play those teams. We don't get blown out the water. We keep it close. Matter of fact, we play the hardest team, Calvary Baptist. They end up beating us 12-10. And so we leave there. We come home, and then we go and play Chappelle, who ends up winning the Division I Select state championship. And so I am going. I hope these girls respond. I hope they respond. And then all of a sudden, we lose a game later on in the season against Hahnville. Hahnville's a great program, coached by Todd Schultz, and we play against Hahnville and we lose in a walk-off. And the girls respond and pretty much are like, we're not letting this happen again. They knew they were going to Sulphur long before the coaching staff did. They knew they were ready and battle tested long before the coaching staff did. Early in the season, I'll tell you, I was a nervous wreck because Parker, I wanted this for these girls so bad. But if you coach, you know, once the game starts, there's nothing I can do. My job is at practice and preparing them. So I began to tell them, girls, I'm going to be an interested observer sitting in the third base box. You go play, and I'm going to watch, and I'm going to insert myself a couple of times, but we're going to let the game play out. Yeah. And Parker, they took to it. They absolutely took to it, and they began to score runs in bunches. And it was, the whole season was fun, but when I was really willing to kind of let go and realize that I wasn't in control when the game started, and that came from some pep talks from my wife and some pep talks from my assistant coach. But once I figured that out, the girls responded, and it was a fun thing to see.
Well, I love the concept of interested observer because it sounds to me like your emphasis is on preparation. I mean, when you talk about preparing a team, you know, to travel, that's not something you think about. You know, preparing a team for walk-offs. I'm asking about that specifically, but this strikes me as kind of like the Bill Belichick preparing Malcolm Butler for this play that nobody had ever seen all year, and suddenly they win a Super Bowl with an interception. You know, what's it like? So preparing for walk-offs, I mean, that's going to become very relevant when we get into the actual final games of your season. But tell me, how do you prepare them for something like that? I mean, where's that idea even come from, and how did you implement it?
There's a document that we have that we say before the season, before the games start, we have to cover this. We got to cover bunt coverages. We got to cover first and third. We got to cover how to bunt. We got to cover what a hit and run is. I make the mistake of thinking that our girls understand my lingo, and they have no clue what I'm talking about. So I have a very, very knowledgeable female on my staff who says, hey, you have a male brain, and a male brain and a female brain don't work the same. So you have to tell them everything and then let them figure that out. So you literally practice a walk-off literally by, I threw a ball to a batter. I had a girl on second base. The batter has to hit the ball in the gap. The run comes around. I wave her around to score. No defense is there. And then their job is to run out of the dugout, and you celebrate with the girl that scored the run, and then you go celebrate with the girl that got the hit. And they did it later on in the season. They did it perfectly.
Well, clearly there's some visualization effect here that worked for you. But you know, I love that concept of preparation because I'm a lifelong Yankees fan, and from we're close in age, so you know the Yankees stunk for the only time basically in history up till then in the 80s when I was growing up. But when they got great in the 90s, everybody knows Derek Jeter was their most popular player, if not their best one. But his iconic play is this flip play where he basically backs up the catcher from shortstop. And it's a play that I've never heard of or seen before that play or since. But he'd actually practiced it. It was something that he intended to do. He was in the right place at the right time. In history, kept them on the way to winning series only because he practiced it. So it's neat to hear you say that. Well, let's get in. Oh, before we get into that, I see a few more comments pop up here. Our clerk of court, Gary Stanga, himself a great coach in his day. I know he coached my little brother in basketball. He says, congratulations, Coach Harper. Quite a ride, and we're very proud of your young ladies. And he was joined here by Miss Donna Hayden. What a sweet lady she is. She says, great coach and great man. Hey, Miss Donna, I hope you and Eloise and Wesley are all doing well. Thank you for watching and chiming in. We're here with Coach Harper. He's talking about his historic run up to the state championship game. Let's now bring it forward to the playoffs, okay? This season's full of ups and downs. You've been battle tested. Iron's been sharpening iron since long before the game's even started. But now you're at the point where if you lose, you go home. And you mentioned being nervous just in the early portion of the season. I would imagine the nerves rise as, the winner take all stakes happens. So walk us through the playoffs, if you don't mind. Tell us how it went down.
So we end the season first in district. We end up the number 4 seed in the playoffs, which that's a privilege. The privilege of number 4 is the top 6 don't play in the first round. You get a bye automatically to the regional round. So we get a bye, and now we wait. We wait for the winner of whoever's in our bracket, and it just so happens that we have to wait for the winner of Slidell with Coach Darren Moore, PHS alum, and Barb High School, which is a storied softball program. And so one of those are going to come to Ponchatoula. So the first good thing is we get to wait. And so we adopt the mantra of we're going to work while we wait.
Right.
And so we're going to practice every day. We're going to act like the game is the next day. We're going to put pressure on every day because, again, for us, the number 4 seed is pressure, but we also say that pressure is a privilege. And so this is a privilege to have this pressure. And so we just spoke that into those girls, and those girls spoke that into themselves. And so we tried everything we could to give them pressure, because if we pressure them at practice, that makes the pressure in the game just a little bit easier, just that much more. And so we just waited. And so Slidell beats Barb. And now Slidell, our district team, is going to come to town, and they're going to play in our place. And they've got a great pitcher in Bailey Mackles. And so, we just are prepared for a battle game. And so game gets here. And, yeah, my nerves are high. I mean, you can ask anybody in that dugout. During the season, there is a lower spot in the dugout where my feet have passed a million times back and forth. Our girls go to the front of the dugout and they cheer. I just stay in the back and I pace back and forth, but I don't want them to feel my nerves. And so I do everything I can to not let them feel it. I don't do a good job of it. My seniors will tell you that I don't do a good job. But there was an instance, and I don't remember which game it was, where one of the girls looks at me and looks at us like, the inning's over. They're coming over to me. We're going to talk about the inning. We're going to talk about going out and hit the ball. And one of our seniors, Grace Swabble, goes, "This is fun." And Parker, from that point forward, you could just see every girl just kind of go.
Yeah.
And you've got Sydney Stangen in the circle just throwing her heart every time. You've got Lainey Polk behind the plate just being that rock that Sydney needs. And you've got a senior at first base in Sarah Uloa, and a sophomore at second, and then a senior at shortstop in Christina Curtis, and a senior at third base in Lainey Polk, Grace Swabble, and a senior out in left field in Breland Singh. And you got 2 more juniors out in left and right and center.
So I'm hearing, wait, Coach, just a quick timeout for anybody, any 8th grade parents listening or any grade. These tryouts that are coming up sound pretty critical because that's a lot of seniors. We got some reloading to do.
We got 7 seniors heading out of our program. All of them great contributors to our program. 3 of them are going on to play college ball. Grace and Christina are going to Louisiana Christian University and play for Coach Roberts. And Layla Chavarria is going to be going to Southwest Mississippi to play for Coach Johnson there. So we're super excited for them. But we've also got a talented group of juniors who are about to be seniors, some sophomores who are hungry for their shot, and some freshmen who, to be honest with you, who are going to be sophomores, they are chomping at the bit to get their chance to show what they can do. And so, we're excited about the future. But, we beat Slidell in a walk-off, which was crazy. I've got Sierra Best.
So for those who weren't paying attention, that walk-off practice, it came into play right there. You needed it right there in game 1 of the playoffs, right?
Literally, I've got Sierra Best at first base, one of the fastest girls around. I've got senior in Breland Singh up at the plate, and I steal Sierra just to get her to second. The pitcher throws a pitch over the middle of the plate. It's just a great fastball to hit. Breland puts it in the gap, and I got no choice but to just roll Sierra from first base. She scores from first base on a ball in the gap. Ball game, we win. We're on to the quarterfinals because of a fantastic game played by the Lady Wave. And then we end up having to move on, and now we play at home again because we're the higher seed. And East Ascension with one of the better pitchers in the state and one of the better infielders in Caden Toulier is coming to town, and it is back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, all over again. We are apparently the cardiac kids. We get to the seventh, they score.
So, and for those, if you don't mind, Coach, just to set the stage, seventh is your final inning in high school softball, right? And am I right? We're talking 2 outs where you're about to go with this? Or
we have the bases loaded, 2 outs, 2-2 count.
Oh, I didn't know that.
2 outs, 2-2 count, bases loaded. We're down by 2.
And who's at the plate? Who's Mighty Casey at the plate during this moment?
It's Mighty Sydney Stanga at the bat.
Of course.
Yeah. We get a base hit, we get a walk, we get a base hit. They load the bases, and literally our 4-hole, our cleanup hitter is who's coming up to bat. Ball 1, strike. Ball 2, strike 2. We are down to our last strike. I literally, and this is what's going on in my head. In my head, because we had been battling the whole game, and then they come back and they score a bunch to make it 12-10.
Right.
And I'm literally thinking my legacy, because I've been teaching 25 years, coaching 25 years. My legacy is going to be 1 out from Sulphur. That's going to be my legacy for the rest of my career. And they throw a ball to Sydney Stanga. She hits it on a line shot over the fence, ball game, grand slam.
Right.
We win 14-12.
A walk-off. So again, the walk-off is coming into play, but the most dramatic walk-off you can imagine. And it's every little kid who's ever played has imagined being, 2 outs, 2 strikes, and here there she is, grand slam. And by the way, you can read all about this in the Tangi Times. Ethan Pelche has written a wonderful article about it. Google it online. I think she got Player of the Week, right?
She got the NOLA.com Player of the Week that week. She got the most. It's a vote thing where you vote for your favorite player. So she got that for that week, and rightly so. She hit the ball, and I just literally didn't know what to do. I didn't respond. I didn't know what to do. I wasn't, because here you are expecting, hey, we're two strikes down, we're 2 runs down. Sydney Stanga comes through, cardiac kid once again. Walk off the 12 or the 13 seed,
right?
And we get to go to Sulphur for the first time.
So she didn't choke up and just try to scrap some contact. She stayed in there and drilled it.
I don't think Sydney has ever just choked up and made contact.
Good for her.
I wish everybody could have came and seen us take BP during the season just one time to watch our girls trying to hit the portable buildings. And
I love it. Launch your bombs. Well, let me bring another comment up here that I know will mean a lot to you, because this comes from a true legend of Ponchatoula athletics, Coach Tricia Aber-Landash, who's been on the program like you, not once but twice, because she came here to do a regular interview, and then she came back to flaunt her success in the state championship. For her, it was her second title. But she says, "Congratulations, Coach. You have someone special with you, Parker. She's so proud of the softball program that you have built, Coach Harper. Two great men on the screen. Coach, that means a lot to me, and I'm sure to Coach Harper. Could not come from somebody that I respect more. I mean, both as a person, as a coach, you come from a fine Christian family that I admire. And Coach Landash's father was my dad's Little League coach, Mr. Dennis Aber, our longtime state rep, who was a true legend here in town. Miller's Seafood Martin Deli, my old classmate Brandon Miller, the proprietor. He says, great season, Coach. Miss Faye Ivaniski, one of my favorite people, who's a frequent fan of the show. She says, congratulations to the Green Wave team. Your principal. Okay, there we go. Dr. Caminita says, congratulations, Coach. Great team, great program. Amen to that. Another fun interview if you want to check that out. She's been on the show. And finally, our mayor-elect, Wesley Daniels, says, what a season. Great job, Coach. Not many people know Wesley Daniels was himself a high school coach. He coached high school basketball very well with Errol Goff, who was a fantastic coach. And anyway, Wesley was a heck of a player. We played both on teams together as kids, but also in the backyard pretty much every day after school at St. Joseph. And finally, Miss Patricia Vicknair, one of my favorite people here. She says, congratulations, Coach Harper. You well-deserved Coach of the Year, and great job to the Ponchatoula Lady Wave. It's been a blessing to be on the show. So thank you, Miss Pat, for that. I appreciate you commenting. Anybody commenting here, if you want to say something to the coaches, these folks have done. If you want to ask a question about what time tryouts start, whatever, while we're here live, fire away. And another great comment coming in live from the great Marshall Graves. Man, you talk about great coaches. I had the fortune of getting whipped by him up and down the PYB basketball and baseball at Pard in my youth. And then Miss Jeanette Garafola. Oh, what a sweet, pretty lady. Good. She says congratulations. Thank you, Miss Jeanette, for tuning in. So, folks, we're here with Coach Jeremy Harper. He's walking us through the first two could not be more dramatic rounds of the playoffs in Ponchatoula's march to history this year on the softball diamond. So you just punched your ticket with the most dramatic way possible. Walk off, 2-strike, 2-out grand slam. What comes next in this story?
So now we have a week where we get to once again work while we wait. We don't know how all this works. We learn from asking others. So I made sure in our walk up and our preparation for going to the state championship tournament, to play in the semifinals and play in the finals, I made sure to reach out to some coaches that I trust and admire who have been there a bunch. I reached out to my small circle and I said, hey guys, I've never done this. Would you tell me how to do this? And so, I'll tell you, I reached out to Coach Becky Lambert at Hannon, fantastic coach over there. And, I just said, hey, what do I need to know? And I reached out to Coach Scott O'Brien at Chappelle. What do I need to know? And the number one thing that they told me is soak every minute of it in, because it is going to fly by.
Yeah.
I after doing it, I 100% believe them. And I tried very hard during our time to just take a minute to step back out of this coaching box and just look around and take it all in. Or find my wife on the sidelines, because her job is to say breathe. Because this is not me taking anything away from a football experience or basketball's experience. But if you've ever been to Sulphur or to Fresh Park for baseball or for softball, there are 8 to 10 fields all playing at the same time. So you've got your fans and the opposing fans cheering, but on the field on the other side, teams are winning and losing too. The only way I can describe it, Parker, is it's deafening. There is no yelling across to ask your girl something. We do our signs with numbers. And thank goodness I have that, I call it that PE voice, because I got a degree in PE. I can yell across that diamond. But
right.
The Live Oak game, we'll get to the Santa Mont game where we end our season. But the Live Oak
game, walking off to talk about before we get to the actual championship game.
Yeah. So the Live Oak game, it's deafening. We've got the Ponchatoula community on this side, and you've got the Live Oak community on this side. Our cheerleaders are there. Our some of the best fans, I believe, around are in the stands, and it's just noise after noise. You can hardly hear the public address announcer announcing girls' names, who's up to bat, because both sides are just going crazy.
That's why, and I guess we don't expect that in softball. I know most of us still haven't been to the games, but you expect that of football with these big crowds and all. But it kind of almost reminds me of like when Happy Gilmore started playing golf, and those golf crowds got loud, and it's like, wait, what's that doing out here? But you painted the picture of all these different diamonds abutting one another. And everybody, it's their biggest moment ever, right? The excitement that you feel is being felt by every coach there, and extrapolate that out to the kids and their parents and the cheerleaders, like you mentioned. Wow, that's so exciting. So, big time energy, that you can see and hear and probably feel going into the biggest game. We're now at a place Ponchatoula softball's never been. And then do we have I know the next part of the story is just going to be an easy peasy game with a big 10-run difference and nothing to sweat, or am I going to hear about it? Tell us what really happened.
You're going to think that's what it was, Parker. You haven't heard about Ponchatoula softball this year. That's not how we operate at all. We want to make sure that the fans get their money's worth when they come to a Ponchatoula softball game, and we want to make sure that the coaches have to have their hearts checked regularly. It's always going to be a journey, and it's all win or lose. It's always going to be exciting. And so we face Live Oak, the number 8 seed. Coach Katie Rue and her staff have a fantastic storied program. They have a history of going to Sulphur, and then you've got us over there who really have no clue what to do other than, hey, let's find a way to focus. Let's let the noise be the noise. Let's focus in and let's just play the game. Our girls never showed nerves. They never looked worried. The coaches, yeah, we did. But the girls were never worried. Matter of fact, the only time I ever saw nerves in our girls is we got there a little early. You had to take your team pictures and your individual pictures and your group picture. And one of my other student assistants goes, Coach, they're nervous. She said, you want to take them for a walk. So we literally went as far as we could go, still inside the park, because you can't leave the park. We went as far as we could go, as far away from the noise, and we just sat. And I said, girls, I'm going to leave you alone. I'll be back. You just sit here. This is as far as I can get you away from the distractions. Focus and watch. And they just watched from another field that was empty. And so that helped a little bit. And I appreciate my student assistant telling me to do that or encouraging me to do that.
Good advice.
The Live Oak game starts, and it is back and forth, back and forth. Yeah. Boom, home run, Abby DeGrow. Boom, home run. Boom, run score. It's back and forth, Live Oak, Ponchatoula, Live Oak, Ponchatoula. Sydney throwing the game of her life. Their girl throwing the game of her life. We let Sydney go for a while, then we put in Abby DeGrow, our sophomore reliever. She keeps throwing. We get down to the bottom. We're down by 1. Bottom of the 7th, we're down by 1. It's 6-7. We find a way to get a runner to third base, and I decide we're going to squeeze bunt. We're going to squeeze.
Oh, wow, that's a ballsy play. So, in case somebody's watching that doesn't know baseball or softball, explain what a squeeze bunt is, because that's a fun aspect of the game. But it's not without its risk, right?
There's 2 ways you can squeeze bunt. There is a suicide squeeze bunt where that third base runner is taking off no matter what, and that batter has to bunt the ball. And then there's what's called a safety squeeze, where the runner has to see the ball down. You see the ball down, you take off. And so I have one of my fastest and my most athletic bunters in our catcher, Lainey Polk. And I've got Christina Curtis at third base, one of our smarter base runners. And so I give Lainey the sign to bunt. She lays down a perfect bunt. Christina just comes in and scores, and it was way less dramatic.
Call it a safety squeeze or a suicide squeeze?
I called it a safety squeeze.
Okay.
Because I didn't want that pressure on Lainey. I wanted her to have the because I said, your job is to get to first base.
Right.
That's it. If I send Tina, I send Christina, and we score and we're tied up. So she literally bunts the ball. Ball goes down. It's perfect. Christina gets a great jump, reads it well, scores. Now we're tied 7-7. And now we get a chance. Once again, cardiac kids, we get a chance. We work our way around with things, and we end up with Abby DeGrow, the 3-hole at third base, and we with 1 out, and Rael Wheat, another. So we have 2 sophomores, sophomore at third, sophomore at the plate. All Rael has to do is get a fly ball in the outfield, and we win the game.
Yeah.
I just tell her, baby, you got to make contact. You make contact, good things are going to happen. She said, I got it. And I went, oh my gosh. So I am probably sweating everywhere. My girls, they just say, we've got this. And I'm like, okay.
That's cool.
And so Rael hits the ball, and it's kind of shallow right center. But I noticed that the fielder is backing up as she tries to catch the ball, which means if she's going to throw it, she's going to throw it on her back foot.
Right.
And I just said, Abby, you're going. Abby, you're going. And she caught it. Abby took off. We score. Ball game.
Wow. So walk-off number 3. That is amazing. Cardiac kids for sure.
My beard wasn't this great at the beginning of the
season. Right.
These bags under my eyes are new.
It's taken me 8 years of kids to get this gray. For you, it sounds like 3 games you went. Brandy Hampton, my old classmate Buck's wife, says congratulations. Hey, Brandy, thank you for tuning in. And here we have Coach Miller, Amanda Beaker. She says, I think we need to take up donations and get those palm trees that you spoke of in the first interview. What do you think, Coach Harper?
I will tell you guys, I love my palm tree idea. I'm off of palm trees now. I've moved on. I'm really looking for bathrooms and a concession stand at Lady Wave Field. We don't have either right now. So I would love one of those press box on the top, concession stand underneath, bathrooms behind.
Yeah.
I've got a great plan for one. I just need somebody, maybe like I could build, I don't know, the Parker Layrisson law firm concession stand.
We can get you started. I don't know if I can fund it all, but that's what we had at JC Park growing up. That's a great little construct. I love it, and I'll be happy to help get that ball rolling. I know I can count on old Kevin Rayford, who was on here earlier, to throw some money up too. I'll twist his arm. We'll go talk to our buddy Jeff Leschere, who can outbid all of us.
There we go.
Miss Lorena Beadle says congratulations. Thank you, ma'am, for tuning in. Hey, Rachel Lagarde Strohmeyer says, congrats, Coach Harper. So proud of you and happy that you got this honor. Rachel is somebody who gives so much to our community. Just think of all the work she put in, as a football mom and booster over the years. Had the privilege of watching her growing up. I was classmates with her sister. Just a great family there. So, folks, we're here with Coach Harper, and he's walking us through the three most dramatic games in Ponchatoula history. 3 straight walk-off victories to take the Lady Wave deeper than they've ever been to the state finals. Let's talk about it. I know we didn't get the outcome we wanted in the state finals, but we got there. What was that game like? What are the lessons we learned? Just tell us about that experience once you're in that final game, the championship game.
So we make the final out and we celebrate. The thing about softball, and I don't know as much about baseball, how they set it up now, is it's just back to back. So, you win in the semis and you're playing the next day. Well, so many of us, including me, you focus so much once you're there at Sulphur on the semis that you don't even think, what do I do if we win? I've got to get some information on this opponent. I've got to find ways to watch their games. And I'm literally finishing the game at 9:00 and my next game is at 3. And so we win the game, and I celebrate with my assistants, and I celebrate with my team, and I celebrate with my family. We take the girls out to a Mexican restaurant that night. We load the restaurant up with Ponchatoula fans, and we have a little party there because when we celebrate, you got to celebrate while you can because that season ends real fast.
Yeah.
Our goal, Parker, was to play on the last day. If you play on the last day, you get to bring home hardware. Win or lose, you get to bring home hardware. And so, that was our girls' goal, was to get to Sulphur, getting a chance to get in the first base dugout and take on a program like Santa Mont in the finals. It really is, for me as a coach who's been wanting that experience. It really is a dream come true. Yes, winning it one day will be amazing. But the building block of being in that dugout on the final day of the season, to see my girls in that situation, to see Sydney Stanga throwing the ball to Lainey Polk on the final day of the season. These girls have dreamed about this their entire lives. And nothing against travel ball. Travel ball provides my girls amazing opportunities. And you get rings and you have tournaments. Those are great. I love that my girls play travel ball. But there is something about having one of those that's different. So,
and also you're playing for your community. I mean, travel ball is great. And look, Lainey's, her dad Laramie and I grew up together. So I watched Laramie and Chad Richard with Twisted Sister come up with travel ball, softball since they were little girls, and they were great. But there's got to be a bigger difference playing for your hometown Green Wave, the Lady Wave, than playing for, some team that's cobbled together with kids. Sometimes they're mercenaries coming over from Gonzales or whatever, I mean, the sense of community, I would imagine, in addition to the hardware you mentioned, really takes it up. Kind of like, when you see the pros playing in the Olympics, right? Everybody wants to win the NBA title, but man, that Olympic gold takes on a different level.
It's totally different. Like I said, travel ball provided my girls, as they were coming up, amazing opportunities to become who they were for me. You know, if you come to me and you've played some high level travel ball, you already have a step up when you get to us. It makes my life a little bit easier. But to see those girls, we were the away team in the last game of the season. Santa Mont was the 3 seed. We were the 4 seed, which was really cool because we got to wear our all greens, which is probably my favorite jersey, maybe the girls' favorite, but it's definitely my favorite jersey in our all greens. And it just so happens that because it's the away jersey, it has Ponchatoula across the chest. And that was cool to see as someone who kind of has been adopted by Ponchatoula, to see that name on that stage was really cool. And to be able to battle that team, Coach Petrie and her staff at Santa Mont, they have built a juggernaut. And if you're going to get to Sulphur, you're going to play Santa Mont at some point in the playoffs.
Right.
They're going to be there. And, you know, they had a great season as well. And so I knew it was going to be a good game. And it was a good game. We had a plan in place for their hitters. Coach Katie Fletcher had a great plan in place for their hitters. And our hitters had a great approach to their pitcher. The wind was blowing 30 miles an hour in from left field. So any ball we hit was going to get caught up in the wind, and it did. And
did you say 30 miles an hour?
It was 25 to 30 miles an hour blowing straight in our faces. You know, it was blowing. There was a Sydney Stanga. She hits a ball. I forget which inning. She hits a ball to the opposite field, which, by the way, she knows this. Opposite field home runs are the best home runs. She hits a ball that's in the right center field gap, and the ball just moves, and it goes out the right field fence for a 2-run home run. But it started off in right center field. That's how hard the wind was blowing. So the 2 runs we did score were from another Sydney Stanga home run.
Wow.
And they had some good bounces. Their leadoff is an LSU commit. Their center fielder might be the fastest softball player in existence. And we limited them, and they got some good bounces on the balls. You know, we didn't win, we didn't lose as much as they beat us that day, and that's okay to say. Some days you're going
to a better team. I mean, you know, at this point you're playing without money. Your team's going. And you not only get there, but you win your first game and play an incredible team. That's just awesome, Coach. And look, the comments are flooding in now. Our school board president, Brett Duncan, my old law school buddy, he says, great job, Coach, for you and your team. You have made our community proud. Amen to that. Dana Lee and Graphia says, great job. Hey, Dana. Miss Donna Hayden's back, says, what an exciting interview. You're right, Miss Donna. It's probably our most exciting interview. I knew it would be a great interview. You know, we've done Jeremy before. He's a hoot, but this is really an exciting story to tell. And, hey, Jason, Figurino here. He says, you're definitely a role model to him and the community and the Hammond Yankees softball group. Congrats to the coaches and team on an outstanding season. Thank you for chiming in there. Brett Duncan says that we're not just proud of y'all because of the win-loss record, but the class and excellence in which you achieved it. No, talk about a great coach and former athlete here, Ronette Wright, and great mom too, by the way. I see we did the Strawberry Castle scene together with her beautiful girls. She says, congratulations, Coach, to the PHS Lady Wave softball team. What a tremendous season. She's proud to be a PHS softball alum. And finally, Denise Holland Lee says, congratulations, Coach. Thank you all for these many comments. Coach, I think I did not keep my word here. I promised to get you in and out quickly because I know you were busy, but the story's been so good. We just wanted more and more. As we approach the conclusion here and we talk about this season and how it ended, what are some of the lessons you learned? What are the big takeaways, both how you feel and what you know? I mean, I can imagine that you leave this season knowing things you did not know going in, despite 25 years in coaching, many, many more years in playing baseball and being around softball. You know, what did you learn and what are the takeaways here?
I'll tell you, one of the biggest things I've learned in my 5 years of leading this program is that there is a history um, that you have to honor. We did this. It was one of the coolest things for me is that we have a PHS softball alumni group that we created on Facebook. By the way, if you played PHS softball and you want to be in the alumni group, send me a message. I'll put you in the alumni group. We actually, I'm done with the game, with the Live Oak game. I'm emotional, and I turn around and there are alumni of our program that played for me that drove 3 hours to see us play. And there are alumni that didn't play for me, that played long before me, that are there cheering us on. And so one of the biggest takeaways from 5 years of coaching this sport is you have to honor those women that came before these girls. If you go out to our field right now, it's called the batter's eye, the center field graphic. It's got a bunch of our current players on the field. It's got a bunch of our former players on the field, and it's got one of the first softball coaches, Miss Peggy Allred, on our field, because you have to honor that history. So one of the biggest things I learned is you have to tip your cap to the folks that came before you. Yes, we've made great improvements. We've made great strides in this program in 5 years. But more importantly than that, we did it by tipping our cap to the ones that came before us.
I love that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, please.
I just wanted to share, like Coach Allred was the first class I took at PHS. I walk in, knees knocking out of the tiny little St. Joseph School, my class of 24, into giant PHS. And for my 8 o'clock class, it was, I think, World Geography with Miss Allred, Coach Allred, who you mentioned. And she was a delightful teacher. I learned a ton from her. She was just a good lady and obviously a great coach, softball, basketball. So it's to an old gray beard like me who has not been in PHS for many, many years, decades. My 30th reunion is being scheduled as we speak. It's special to me to hear that you're honoring people because, like you said, you were adopted into Ponchatoula. You grew up in Laranja, so you didn't take her. It'd be easy to just say, this is the me thing. I'm Coach Harper, and we're hitting new heights. But you're building on something that's always been there, and that's really special.
We had a chance to have her actually come out. I had her and my former mentor student teacher when I was student teacher at Ponchatoula, Miss Christy Brescher. She brought Miss Peggy out to meet the girls and take a picture by the sign. And so I learned really that you got to honor that. I also have learned in this year that I don't get to swing the bat. I don't get to throw a pitch. I have got to let the girls play the game on game day. There's no reason for me to be nervous on game day because I control none of it. My job is, because your players, every one of my seniors today, almost all of them said, we feed off of you. If you're in a bad mood, we're going to be in a bad mood. If you're in a good mood, we're going to be in a good mood. And so I learned about halfway through the season from my wife and from my pitching coach and from my girls to go, hey, smile a little bit. It's going to be okay. And so I learned I've got to be willing to let them play the game. And I've also got to let my coaches coach. I don't go down and check on Katie and see what she's calling. I don't go tap Wesley on the shoulder and say, hey, where are you putting them in the outfield? If I ask them, they'll tell me. But we've prepared these girls for the pressure of the game. And so I think that's going to make us better coaches as we go into Team 2025, as we have these 5 new seniors coming out. Some of them everyday starters this year, some of them not everyday starters, but are going to be competing for that starting spot. We've got sophomores. This is an exciting time to be a part of Ponchatoula softball. I truly believe that. I just happen to be the guy that sits in the chair. I just got lucky. In 2010, I got offered the chance to be the softball assistant, and I really should have took them up on the offer then, because I did not realize that I was made to coach girls till way too late.
Right. Well, it's neat to see God's plan unfold, and you revealed a lot of that in your first interview. How you came up as a rightly so confident young baseball coach and learned lessons as you went. And so many of us go through life never willing to humble ourselves and realize these things that you've learned. And I'm sure that your girls are prospering in large part because of that. I mean, did you get lucky? Sure. I know your wife. I know you got lucky. We were classmates. But it was more than that. You took that good fortune of God's blessing and you seized the day and you captured the moment and y'all did something special together as a group. And I commend you for that. I want to share. We have a few other comments here, and then I'm going to give you the last word, Coach. Miss Jeanette's back. Miss Jeanette just says she's right. This has been a great interview, and I thank you for sharing that. Regina Rayford. Hey, Regina, so good to see you. She says you've always been an awesome person, teacher, and coach, and she's right. And wow, from all the way across the country, my old Tulane classmate Tim McHugh says he loves the Green Wave hat. Tim, I had no idea you were watching Ponchatoula live over in California. Must be a slow day on the West Coast or wherever you may be, but it means a lot. It tickles my heart to see my old Tulane Green Wave classmate there. Thank you for tuning in. So, Coach Harper, you have regaled us with a really exciting story about an incredible season that made history here. You are such a class act. Everything people have said about you here, all the laudits, the praise, it's true, and then some. We could stay here another hour, just talking about the great things about you. But before we go, what else is on your mind, on your heart? What else do you want to share with our community, our viewers and our listeners before we close it down?
I think the last time that you and I talked, I told you that I'm a much better person, a much better guy, a much better coach than I was when I started back in 1999. I don't have to always be right. That's one of the biggest things that I've learned is I don't have to be right. I am the first one now to apologize and honestly and sincerely apologize when people think that I've done something wrong to them. I would encourage young people I would encourage young people to get in the coaching profession. I really would. There are days that it's hard, but every job has its challenges. Every job has its issues. But when you have an opportunity to do something like I get a chance to do every day, when you get a chance to surround yourself with the coaches that I do, with the colleagues at Ponchatoula High School that I have, I'm a lucky guy. And yes, I people can pat me on the back all they want, but I'm a product of the people that I surround myself with. I'm a product of the people that I go home to every day. I'm a product of the two people that raised me out in the great community of Laranger. And so all of that comes together. And my job is just to give these girls the best 4 years they can possibly get. If that means Sulphur every year, great. If that means a state championship every year, great. They won't remember the Santa Mont loss this year as much as they will remember the Live Oak win. Or they will remember us doing Sulphur Challenge back in December. Or they'll remember going to Steamboat Bill's in Lake Charles and having a meal together. Or all the meals at walk-ons. I think we ate walk-ons 4 times. There's no coincidence that we eat at walk-ons and we have walk-offs.
Walk-offs, I love it. They need to rename it for you guys.
Walk-ons has been great partners for us this past season. They hosted us before every playoff game and a couple other times too. Jason over at Walk-Ons has just been great. Katie will send in the menu to him, the orders, and literally when we get there, almost every time it just comes rushing out. And so, if you're wanting to get into coaching, you have got to get involved with the community, whether it be the alumni of the program, the parents of the program. The community needs to know that you're here. They're not going to just show up. Before the season, my seniors went and hung up 100 different schedules on Main Street, Ponchatoula. Every window, we just put one, just hoping somebody would see our games. And that's just, you have to have community involvement. I don't care if you're an established program like us or you're a brand new program just getting started. The guy in the chair doesn't know it all. I don't. I'm just lucky to sit in the chair right now.
Well, it's amazing that you would be so humble because here we have this graphic up, Coach of the Year. That's you. I want to close with that up there so everybody can see it. And we have a couple more comments that we'll close out on. I think they're right on. Kayla Jackson says, great job, Coach Harper. And here, this one might be my favorite yet. Coach Harper for president. Great idea. Folks, thank you.
I'll continue being Coach Harper, Lady Wave softball coach. I'll do that. Lester, I'll vote for you for president.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. Oh, we got one more. Dana's back on, says, what an amazing year. And, of course, Dana, you are right.
Dana was one of my classmates in Ponchatoula. She graduated long after me.
Right. Well, it's been an amazing interview. We have now eclipsed the hour mark, and as you can see from the comments, tons of people are still watching live. That's reflective of how many people love you, but also the success of this program and the spirit of the program and what you're doing. Because as we started it off with, it's not about wins and losses. The wins have been nice, and there have been more of them this year. And probably, frankly, no matter how many state titles you win, more walk-offs than you could ever accomplish, because who can do 3 in a row in a playoff run? I've never heard of that before, and I don't expect to ever see it again. But it's really big. It's special to me that you took the time to do this. So thank you, Jeremy. We greatly appreciate it. To our viewers, thank you for sticking with us, and I will see you next time. Y'all take care.
Well, wait.